Republicans are going to try to introduce her on their terms. I don't blame them. I do the same thing. And she's going to have to get good fast. That's all I can say. And I'm not very giddy about this. I'm not cocky at all. I think we have a tough election ahead of us. She's going to get slaughtered. They're coming out. They're coming. And this is just part of the, no different than it was any other time.
Wow, James Carville saying Kamala's going to get slaughtered. Why the violent rhetoric out of the Democrats? Yeah. Now, if Trump had said she's going to get slaughtered, they'd be calling for him to be impeached before he's even elected again. There it is. And welcome to Wednesday. It is the Chris Plante Show. Mike Opelka in again for my friend Chris Plante. He's on vacation. If you're following him on social media, and why would you not be doing that? You would be seeing the pictures from the cruise. Chris and Michael Piercy enjoying the cruise, and a bunch of the listeners apparently enjoying the cruise. But we have so much to get to. My God, things are just evolving very quickly. We'll be constantly updating you on what's happening with the campaigns, because something interesting happening in the Trump campaign. Donald Trump has been invited to speak to the Convention of Black Journalists in the city of Chicago. Won't that be an interesting discussion? Mr. Trump will be speaking very, very honestly and directly to that journalistic group. Not exactly a group that's welcomed him in the past, I think. We'll see what happens on that. Yesterday, Donald Trump, second half of the interview with Laura Ingraham, some highlights from that. There was more, I want to say, fallout from the White Dudes for Kamala Harris Zoom call that happened, and some really interesting special guests on that Zoom call, including a couple of elected Democrats who were on the call. But it just seems to end up being a lot of comedy. A whole lot of comedy. And we will share it with you today. Also, some serious things happening in the Middle East in the last 24 hours. And frankly, it happened within a couple hours. Two events happened within a couple hours of each other. The Israeli military vowed to take action after 12 kids were killed on a soccer field and a playground by Hezbollah terrorists backed by Iran. And yesterday, a Hezbollah commander was killed in Lebanon, in Beirut, Lebanon, by an IDF strike. Israeli Defense Forces hit with surgical precision, reportedly taking out the Hamas commander who was responsible for the deaths of those 12 children and his bodyguard. And we haven't heard of any other casualties, just those two, which is kind of remarkable, is it not? It sure seems that way. And then a couple hours later, we got word that a Hamas leader was killed in Tehran, Iran, reportedly by Israel and the IDF, another precision strike. So two major terrorist leaders taken out. One was a Hezbollah commander. The other was a Hamas leader. One in Beirut, Lebanon. The other in Tehran, Iran. And this is on the heels of Iran celebrating the election, using air quotes with my fingers, of its president, the latest election of its president. Who knows how many candidates were not allowed? They're just like the Democrats. They will select the candidate and then tell you this is the only person you can vote for. Isn't that amazing? The parallels between the theocracy in Iran and the modern Democrat Party. By the way, yesterday, the state of Arizona held a primary election, and Donald Trump got, I think, about 80% of the votes. Nikki Haley got a few votes. Ron DeSantis got a few votes on the Republican side of things. Carrie Lake won her primary, so she will be competing for the Senate seat in the state of Arizona. But on the Democratic side of things, Joe Biden and the Democrats scooped up another 400,000 votes for Joe Biden. their current presumptive candidate was not even on the ballot. So another 400,000 disenfranchised voters in the Democrat Party. People actually went out to cast a primary ballot. 400,000 Democrats cast a primary ballot for Joe Biden, and there were a couple other fringe candidates there. And that's astounding to me that the mainstream media isn't talking about it, isn't pointing that out, saying, hey, wait a minute. You're still doing this? You're still taking votes for the guy who stepped aside, and Kamala's not even on the ballot? Yeah, that's what's going on. That's who these people are, and we're seeing it. It is unprecedented. We are in uncharted waters, as they were saying during the pandemic when they were telling us we had to do things, and we didn't have to answer to logic and reason. We just had to believe them. So the fact that Kamala Harris is now the presumptive nominee, they're going to have the roll call next week, and there are no other Democrats who qualified to be on that roll call for all the delegates. Not one. Now, last week, the Democrats laid out the procedure to be on the roll call to compete against Kamala, and you had to have 300 signatures from delegates in order to be even considered. Well, they did that, I think it was 5 days after Kamala had secured 3,000. And there were fewer than 900 delegates available. So there wasn't really a fair opportunity for anyone else to compete. There wasn't even a chance. It is an anointment. It is an appointment. It is a coronation. We can call it many different things. But the Democrats have now created the least democratic nomination of a candidate in my lifetime. And they don't even try to hide it. And here we are now, after the news I gave you about what's going on with Israel and Iran and Hezbollah and Hamas, and I'm sure the Houthis are also getting orders to go and attack Israel again. Where's Joe Biden? Have we heard a statement out of the White House? Has there been a statement from the White House about the situation, which is teetering on some kind of major escalation in the Middle East? We did get a notification yesterday that U.S. warships are headed to the coast off of Lebanon after the IDF knocked out the Hezbollah leader in Beirut. Hamas said, oh, this is a dangerous escalation. We thought we were in ceasefire talks. Well, yeah, then don't be killing 12 children as Hezbollah did. The Jerusalem Post has the story of the fact that we are now sending ships to the region, military ships. That's a little nerve-wracking that we really don't have anyone in charge, do we? Where is Joe Biden addressing the country on this? I thought we were told that the Biden peace plan was moving forward. I know Kamala Harris made some kind of weak statement as she was getting off the plane yesterday, the only time she's spoken about this was after the deaths of the children. She briefly made comments on it. We have a very, very dangerous situation in the region. We have troops still in the region. We have American boots on the ground. If anyone is paying attention and they're pointing to Kamala Harris on this for comfort, for leadership, Kamala Harris isn't capable. She's not capable. She doesn't have the foreign policy bona fides. She was the lady who presided over the cast of actors who wanted to talk about space with her at the vice president's residence. She had never, prior to becoming vice president, been to Europe. She told us that in the interview with Lester Holt when he said to her, hey, you've not been to the border. And she responded, I haven't been to Europe either. So what? But Kamala Harris is a danger just for her lack of knowledge. Kamala Harris, remember what she said about Ukraine when she was on a program called The Morning Hustle back in March of 2022. This is the Vice President of the United States being asked about Ukraine, and this is how she explained it.
Ukraine is a country in Europe. It exists next to another country called Russia. Russia is a bigger country. Russia is a powerful country. Russia decided to invade a smaller country called Ukraine. So basically, that's wrong.
Yeah, okay. And that's how we're supposed to be made comfortable with the leader who is now the face of this administration. If you listen to the mainstream media, you may have noticed an interesting nuance in how CNN and even the Democrat surrogates who are out there making appearances on CNN and MSNBC are referring to this administration. It is no longer referred to as the Biden-Harris administration. They are very subtly calling this the Harris-Biden administration. Harris-Biden administration. Where's Joe? Where's the president? If he's not the president, then he needs to step aside. If he's not the president, he needs to be no longer the president and not having the nuclear codes. If we're going to make her the president, make her the president. And then we'll see if she's actually capable. Last night, Donald Trump talked about this when he was on with Laura Ingraham in the second half of the extensive interview. And the question was, how will the global leadership view a Kamala Harris presidency? How will they see her? And this is getting a lot of questions, a lot of criticism from the left side of the mainstream media, and I think you'll understand why. And, well, here it is.
How would they consider a Harris presidency? Just in geopolitical.
I think they'll walk all over her. I think they'll look at her. I think they'll walk all over her. She'll be so easy for them. She'll be like a play toy. They look at her and they say, we can't believe we got so lucky. They're going to walk all over her. And I don't want to say as to why, but a lot of people understand it. How do you
Now, the left side of the mainstream media, as I said, CNN, MSNBC, saying, what does he mean by that? They'll walk all over her, and I don't want to say why. He doesn't need to say why. Carville already explained it to us. Carville said why. Kamala Harris, with her idiotic, childlike explanation of Ukraine and Russia, already said why. The word salad said why. We're currently, I think we're day 10 or day 11 of Kamala Harris not doing a live rally, live interview, live press conference. Yes, the rally was live, but she was reading off a teleprompter the entire time. She can read a script. She can do a teleprompter delivery. She can't answer questions. She doesn't have the institutional knowledge. And I seriously wonder if she's getting the briefings. The rest of the planet has got to be looking at us. They laughed at Biden. They must be doubling over with the prospect of President Harris. Donald Trump talked about Xi Jinping as well.
How do you think they'll look? President Xi of China standing together with her, representing. I don't want her to be my representative. Our country's got enough problems. They will walk all over her and her crazy administration.
He's absolutely correct. Spot on. If I'm wrong, make your argument. You're also welcome to talk about anything. It's open lines always on the Chris Plant Show. 888-630-9625 is the number. My name is Mike Opelka. I'll be here till Chris gets back from vacation. Boy, do we have a full plate today. Mike Opelka in for Chris Plant on the Chris Plant Show.
You're listening to the Chris Plant Show.
It is the Chris Plant Show. Mike Opelka and for my friend Chris Plant. We're just talking about how the world views Kamala Harris, and I was laughing about the little stage scripted event she did at the vice president's residence with all the kids that were part of a casting call. Yeah, they were actors, child actors brought to the White House. And then I remember that interview she did on the Jennifer Hudson show, one of the thousands of daytime talk shows out there. Seems like everybody has a daytime talk show and a podcast. And a 10-year-old boy asked Kamala Harris about going to space.
Would you go into space if you had the chance? And if so, what is the maximum amount of time you'd be willing to stay out there for?
Is that a request? I would go to space if I could. I actually, and there are people on my team who do know that, but sadly, I think that there are those who would prefer that I would stay on Earth for the time.
No, we're good. We're good with the space trip. We're actually all very good with the space trip. If you want to do that, you can go to the space trip. Kamala had a rally yesterday, and there's an interesting perspective on the rally in Atlanta yesterday. Sylvie, one of the Real Housewives of the flagship affiliate here at the Chris Plant Show, is on the phone. Hey, Sylvie, welcome to the program. Do we have her still? Or no?
Hello?
Sylvie, oh, there you are. Welcome.
I'm here, yes. Well, thanks, Mike. The media is just salivating about the people lining up yesterday in Atlanta at a stadium in downtown Atlanta for Kamala Harris, and the stadium was packed all the way to the rafters. And they started lining up early, and the media is telling us that Kamala Harris can fill up a stadium just like Donald Trump can. But what they fail to tell us is that the famous rapper Megan Thee Stallion, who is the new shiny object in the rapper world, was there singing 3 songs, I believe, before Harris stepped out. And that's what people were there for, because it was a free concert. And then after she left, what the media won't show you is the droves of people that were leaving the event after Megan sang. So Mr. Trump is going to be in Atlanta, too, this Saturday, I believe, with Marjorie Taylor Greene in downtown Atlanta. And you wonder if he's going to fill the same stadium, and he doesn't have a musical act in front of him. So that was a curious thing to see.
That's a great point. And I was going to read some of the words from Megan Thee Stallion's song called Savage, but we'd all be fired before the commercials stop running. It's interesting who they choose to represent them. Thank you, Sylvie. It's Mike Opelka. I'm in for Chris Plant right here on the Chris Plant Show.
This is the Chris Plant Show.
It is the Chris Plant Show. Mike Opelka in for my vacationing buddy, Chris Plant. I am happy to be here, honored to be here, thrilled to be here, and we have a lot of business to take care of. Some of it serious, some of it silly, some of it just newsy. Things that we have to talk about, like what the heck is going on with the Olympics. And I like to do a little check-in with the Olympics. It's they're like 5 or 6 hours ahead of us. I forget whatever France is, but I'm looking at the medal count. We picked up a few medals yesterday, still not as many in the gold as China, Japan, France, Great Britain, and the Republic of Korea, South Korea. The gold medal number should go up once we start running, because we seem to do well in track and field. We did pretty well in the pool, and yesterday our American women we did pick up a gold medal. Thank you to the American gymnastics team, the women, who scored just very well. They stomped everybody. Happy to see that. And Simone Biles was the anchor on the floor exercises. My wife and I were watching it yesterday afternoon live, and then NBC replays it in primetime, but you can get the information before 5 o'clock. It's already wrapped up. which I don't understand. But happy that the U.S. women's team did well in the gymnastics. And then there was the most exciting rugby play I've seen in a long time. The American women, 7-a-side rugby, pulled off this last-second score to beat the Australian rugby team for a bronze medal. So big congrats to the American women's rugby team for getting the bronze medal. It just was an all-around great and exciting day. We have 27 medals. We have more medals than anybody else. But, you know, everybody wants to know, did you get the gold medal? Did you get the gold medal? Because that's the big stinking deal. There also is some interesting reporting going on about what you get paid if you, in fact, get a medal in the Olympics. And every country has a different set of rules. If you are a person from Singapore, you can get like $750,000 if you get a gold medal. If you're an American, you get $38,000. And I hope every one of the women on the American gymnastics team who got that gold medal, I hope they don't have to share the money. I hope they each get the $38,000 and maybe, just maybe, how about a Wheaties box or some kind of endorsement deal? Now, also, we talked about it briefly yesterday, that the Olympic triathlon was being postponed, and even the training for the Olympic triathlon was being postponed because the water in the Seine River was filthy. And the levels of E. coli were so high that they were not letting the swimmers go in there and practice. And apparently swimming in the Seine has been a thing that's not been happening for about 100 years. So you've got all the athletes who are waiting to do their training, and the river is filthy. Filthy. It's been illegal to swim in that river for over a century. And now they've had rainfall and reportedly a bunch of ne'er-do-well protesters who've been relieving themselves in the river, trying to pollute it as well. Well, the levels of E. coli are more than 20 times higher than what the World Triathlon considers to be, safe. The folks at Reason Magazine have an incredible story on this because they have exposed that Paris spent $1.5 billion cleaning the excrement out of the Seine, but it's still too dirty for swimming. Paris had to have known this. When you got more than a century of preventing people from swimming in the river, this is so stupid. The mayor of Paris wanted to prove that it was safe. Anne Hidalgo jumped in the Seine earlier this month, just trying to show you, hey, everything's fine here. But if you're going to spend hours, it's a little different than just jumping in and jumping out and then probably walking through a car wash to get all that stuff off of you. Apparently, we were told that they're going to approve the conditions today. If I'm one of those people who's swimming, who's competing in the triathlon, I am asking for some kind of liability plan. It's just unbelievable. American triathlete, and this is according to the Reason.com coverage, Seth Ryder believes he can ward off serious infection by increasing his E. coli threshold and not washing his hands after going to the bathroom. Are you kidding me? And there are others that are taking more probiotics in the hope of building up a stronger gut to withstand. This is nuts. No other sport would put up with this. That's a great story. And I'll post a link to the story in Reason Magazine on the Twitter X. Just phenomenal. But our American teams seem to be doing okay. I had hoped for a little better performance in some of the beach volleyball. The beach volleyball is the other area where things kind of got crazy. And again, there is a call for equality in uniforms. Apparently, the American women's beach volleyball players were wearing almost nothing as they competed against women from I believe it was Croatia or Czechoslovakia, because they kept calling them Czechia or Czechia. And they were in what appeared to be regular volleyball uniforms, a T-shirt and shorts, while the American beach volleyball players were in bikinis, pretty skimpy bikinis, and they're healthy people. They're all very healthy people. But there were questions about whether or not they were sexualizing the sport. I don't think NBC is going to complain. Just throwing that out there. And then the other question my wife and I were asking for about 5 days now is, why is Snoop Dogg so prevalent in all the NBC coverage of the Olympics? It's been pretty funny to watch him carry the Olympic torch in one of the final relays. Was pretty interesting. And then to see him everywhere, he seems to be at every big event and sitting with the families of the American competitors who are favored to get medals, and that's fine. And I kept wondering, though, why Snoop Dogg? You've got NBC has a whole bunch of people working for it in the sports world, and you put this guy in, and it became evident yesterday when they started rolling promos for a show I've never watched called The Voice, one of those singing competition shows, which he is now a member of their judge pool. Again, never seen the show. Not a fan. I'd rather watch a cooking competition than a singing competition. But this is why. So the Pope of the Olympic Village, which is what we have dubbed Snoop Dogg, is there primarily to promote his other show coming out on NBC very soon. So that's my Olympic update. And as long as I'll be here, I'll do regular Olympic updates. As of today, we still are the most medaled nation, but we are woefully lagging in gold. We have 27 overall. We have 4 gold. And I do believe that's going to change. The idea is to beat China. They've got 8 right now. Japan has 7. France has 6. And we should do that. Hopefully. We will see. All right, so many other things to get to today. And your calls always welcome at 888-630-9625. The Donald Trump interview, the second half of the Donald Trump interview with Laura Ingraham, I thought was very interesting yesterday. She got into some fun topics as well as some serious topics. We already talked about Mr. Trump's views of Kamala Harris and how a Harris candidacy and, God forbid, a Harris presidency would be seen around the world and what it would do to us. Really scary stuff. She also asked him what his pronouns were. I should play that too. But Donald Trump was talking about policy. And I think that's where this race is won. And Donald Trump with Laura Ingraham talking about policy. And I think one of the key policies that we have to talk about is an industry that makes up about 8% of our gross domestic product. And that's the automotive industry. People don't realize just how big automobiles are in terms of the American economy, not just making them, but making the stuff that goes in them, tires, windshields, windshield wipers. Everything that goes into a car has to be manufactured. They just don't grow out of the ground. And that is one of the things that we learned during the pandemic, that the chips that go into the cars, the average car has 30 plus chips. Some have as many as 60 computer chips. And a lot of those are made in other places, and we're trying to bring that manufacturing back here. But all of that industry will be crushed if we push people to electric vehicles. And I tell everybody I'm a recovering electric vehicle owner and driver. I drove one daily for 3.5 years, not to save the planet, not because I thought that electric cars were the future. I thought it was fun, and they were fast. They're very expensive. They're very expensive to operate. They're very expensive to insure, and they're very expensive to repair. So I am back for the last 2.5 years now, driving a gas-powered vehicle, and always will be. But Laura Ingraham asked Donald Trump about that issue with the EV mandates. Pretty solid answer, I thought, from Mr. Trump.
Gas-powered cars, what happens to them in a Harris administration?
In a Harris, they're gone. In a Trump, they're thriving. And also, everything's thriving. Electric, gas power. Electric is 7%, 6% of the market. Maybe it's going to go a little bit higher. They want everybody to have an electric car.
Union jobs in Detroit.
Union jobs are going to come back. The unions are going to be, you know what's threatening to the union? Millions of people coming in and willing to work for a very small amount of money. The unions are under threat. I'll tell you who's hurt the most by the border. Black people, Hispanic people, and unions.
And young people going into the workforce for the first time.
Young people, too. But if you think about it, black people are losing jobs. They were doing so much better under Trump. People are coming in and undercutting them and taking their jobs. Hispanic people and also unions and young people.
Gas power.
Donald Trump with a very solid answer, not just about the automotive market, but about the labor market and how a Harris presidency would affect all of that. And it is all intertwined. If you mandate that everybody go to electric vehicles, you destroy what once was the greatest industry in this country, and that was the automotive industry. We allowed Japan and now Korea to take away the majority of the manufacturing. Of course, Germany and Sweden still have a healthy amount of cars being built. But, and okay, a couple of Great Britain cars. All right. But it is really the American automobile industry that built so much of this country in the 20th century. Made Detroit one of the greatest cities, one of the most prosperous cities, until the Democrats got control of it. And a mandate to electric vehicles is a mandate to destroy the economy. And that is one of the things that when Donald Trump said, if he's not elected, there will be a bloodbath in the automotive industry. That's what he was talking about. The Democrats keep pointing out. He said there'll be a bloodbath. No, he was talking metaphorically, speaking about an industry that would be destroyed. And he was absolutely right. Yeah, you'll sell more tires, but they'll be a lot more expensive. You'll pay a lot more to insure your car, and it will take a lot longer to repair your car. Trust me, I speak from extreme experience on this. And Chris and I argued about it all the time. I have so much more to get to from the Trump interview. We also have things from the hearing yesterday. The hearing with the deputy director of the FBI and the acting director of the Secret Service and a few irate members of the Senate. Justifiably irate members of the Senate, I think. We'll dive into all of it. It's Mike Opelka. That's me, in for Chris Plant on The Chris Plant Show.
There's only one Chris Plant. The Chris Plant Show.
Welcome to it, the Chris Plant Show. Mike Opelka in for Chris Plant. He is cruising, literally, on a boat, which is, usually where you cruise. Unless you're in the Chicago suburbs in the mid-'70s and you're driving up and down the streets in your car with your buddies. Yesterday, we talked about a crazy leftist on MSNBC, Molly Jong-Fast, and the wacky attack she made against J.D. Vance. And she brought up a topic, natalism. Natalism. Perhaps you remember the clip.
This is this natalism that comes from an authoritarian playbook, right? That there need to be more white children, right? That's the idea that there's, this is about great replacement theory, racism, right? This is what this is. So don't misunderstand it for him wanting more children. He wants a certain kind of, racist thing.
So Molly Jong-Fast, after that quote was played here yesterday and myriad other outlets pointed out the insanity of this crazy leftist, Molly Jong-Fast must have gotten a little attention yesterday. I went back to her Twitter X account thinking there'll be a follow-up on this, especially after so many of us pointed out the fact, and it is a fact, it's a hard and fast fact, that J.D. Vance has biracial children, 3 of them. So the claim that he's just looking for more white kids, white babies on the planet or in America is just wrong, and it's not true, and it could be considered unhinged, crazy liberalism. So I went back to Molly Jong-Fast's Twitter X page, as I said, and she blocked me yesterday. Yesterday, I got the ultimate praise from a leftist, and that is I am blocked. So the people who tell us that, oh, we have to protect speech, they don't want you to see what they're saying. They don't want you to be able to access their accounts. And not only did she block me, but I specifically was blocked, but she also has restricted her account. You have to be an insider. It's crazy. I'll keep an eye on Molly Jong-Fast. She doesn't know I have another account with a different name, and we will be going in with that account later to see what she's up to. A question came in during the break. Somebody said, hey, does having an electric car have any effect on your electric bill when you charged it? Not really. Didn't have a supercharger at home. Didn't have the big rig charger at home. I used to go to the Tesla charging stations because it was pretty cheap. Not like giving it away, but I do have friends who have them. I was nervous about having the charger at home after I read about the possible fires. Oh, that's another problem. All right, let's grab one more call before we get out of here, before we wrap up this hour. Matt is in Rockville, Maryland. Matt, welcome to the Chris Plant Show, sir.
Happy hump day, Mike.
Thank you. Oh, I forgot about that. Yes, that's a staple of this show. Mike. Happy hump day.
It works perfect. Just a simple request for the people on the left. In 2 weeks, when the Olympics are over, all the times you've been cheering for America, and if you put out a flag for the Olympics, just do me one favor and keep that pride in America after the Olympics are over. Keep waving the flag and don't restart burning it like you have a tendency to do. Please keep this pride. That's all we ask.
That would be a nice thing to happen. It's kind of cool to see when you look at our uniforms, and we have some interesting uniforms out there for the various sports. I thought our women's gymnastic team's uniforms were stunning, but it's so great to look and see that flag, especially when it's on the medal stand. Just a nice thing, and you stand a little taller, and maybe you sing the anthem along with it. Great suggestion, Matt. Thanks for being there. It is Mike Opelka, that's me, and for Chris Plant right here on The Chris Plant Show.